you referred to a group that you said his children could be in jeopardy from. So you must have some sensibility that there's a group of people who have conspired to kill Michael. That's what it sounded like from your question.
Right, yeah. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, I'm alleging there's a group or an individual. I'm just alleging.
You think somebody wanted to kill him? Not that the doctor should be charged for killing him, but you think somebody had premeditation to kill him?
I think there's some kind of motive with many people that was jealous of Michael.
Well, I think that the jealousy might be there, but I think the people around him, especially being as he was embarking on this world tour, I mean, I couldn't see anybody having a motive.
No, I have to say, Tony,
jump off that train.
I say it on the one hand, I don't agree with your statement. I don't agree with assuming, that he was murdered. But I will say that I know that his family members believe that there was a conspiracy to kill Michael Jackson. They've been vocal about it. I think, in fact, some of them are going to be talking on Larry King Live the day of Michael's death, the anniversary of his death on the 25th. And actually going to discuss and describe what conspiracy they feel is there. I've had many fans approach me about this idea that there is a conspiracy, was a conspiracy between whether it be the powers that be at the record label or his handlers, and a combination of all the above that wanted to see him, not on the planet anymore. I don't know. I mean, it's.
But what's the motive? I don't see that. I can understand it.
I don't know. I don't understand. The motive would be, obviously, Michael owned a big piece of the Sony catalog, and I think that any allegations would come back to Sony. And I just have a hard time believing that a corporation would find a way to try. I don't know. I mean, I was around Michael Jackson too long, I guess, myself personally, to see him and to know that. I don't know. I don't think I believe that. I don't think that it was a deliberate attempt on anyone's part. I think Michael had a very hard struggle ever since the Pepsi commercial.
Mm-hmm.
He went through a period of drugs. And then at the end of his life, after that trial, I think he gave up on a lot of things, but he was trying to come back, and I think he killed himself. He wound up getting killed in his comeback, and killed, by that I mean overdosed inappropriate by a doctor.
Right, yeah.
We know those facts, okay?
But you saying Michael killed himself?
Well, I mean, he what I mean by that, he didn't kill himself. That's not the right phrase. He, in my opinion, was...
overdosed at somebody else's hand?
Overdosed at someone else's hand, but he died trying to make that comeback that he didn't really need to make, but he wanted to show his children who he was, and his fans wanted him, and he agreed to all those concerts, and he overdid, certainly, his work, which he loved to do, in order to give the most of him, everything that he always did give,
Right.
And I think in that sense he died trying. And I think when I say he killed himself, I don't mean literally killed himself, but when you say someone killed themselves trying to get something done, like they were killing themselves, they were
working themselves so hard. Yeah,
that's what I meant.
Okay, like emotionally, Michael went through this period of time where Michael had to prove himself to himself and to others.
Correct.
That he could do it.
Right, and he was. And I have friends who were around him at the time and saw him, and he showed them his six-pack of abs, and he was at the gym, and he was, and Frank DeLeo, the manager, told me, Michael was in the best shape of his life, and he was on top of the world, and he was so happy. And you see the This Is It movie, and you see him there. I mean, he's very into it. He's very on top of it. He's very in command of it. He wants that, but when I say he killed himself, I mean, how much work would that be to have months and months and months and months of that kind of rehearsal and that kind of, whole staging of a thing, and then on top of it come home to your kids and whatever, and have to hide from all the crazy media craziness around you at the same time, and it's very stressful. And I think he, in some degree, was overdoing it. So the fact that he couldn't get sleep and he somehow requested this propofol, if in fact he requested it, he was playing a little bit with the Russian roulette there, I think.
Well, actually, we really don't know what he requested with. It's all hearsay with Dr. Conrad.
That's true. That's true.
And with that nurse, the nurse practitioner, she said something, and then we haven't heard from the other doctors because only it's been Conrad and the nurse, now the nurse practitioner you don't hear from. So we're only getting certain things from the media, and how can we really trust the media? Because you only get to hear certain things.
I agree with you.
That's true.
I agree with you. I don't know.
That's why you're here for Inravio.com. We give you the hard scoop.
Yes, and also, like, I'm also, like, really curious about a couple of things. Like, Michael passed away June 25th, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jordan's father passed away in a tragic way in New Jersey.
Yep.
Okay? Self-inflicted gunshot.
Right.
Okay? By himself.
Mm-hmm.
And they said he had mental problems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then the next guy that passed away was a friend of, what's his name?
Bob Jones passed also.
Right, that's an attorney. But
Bob Jones was an attorney. Bob Jones was his publicist, who he had for years. He's one of the people that created, or takes credit for the phrase "king of pop." But anyway.
Okay, and he passed away.
Yep.
Natural causes, or?
I don't know about that. I'm not so sure.
well, there's one that had a gunshot to the head at the on the front lawn. He was the third one, but the second one, if you remember, was what's his name? Ernie's friend, and he was found drop dead in the middle of the street, and they were supposed to do an autopsy, but you never heard about the autopsy anymore, and he died in December. So it seems like everybody's connected to Michael, but slowly certain people are dying. Why is that? I mean, why?
It's a good question.
It's a good question. I mean, I think that the most significant question out of that is, why did Evan Chandler kill himself soon after Michael's death? And I think that's
a good question. That one's interesting.
$1 million question, because obviously we all wonder what were his motives, and
originally,
and back in time, and was it extortion, and why did they take all that money if there was really molestation? Because if their child was molested, they should have stood up for it. And I think the fact that Evan Chandler killed himself says a lot about the potential guilt this man felt, that translated into a lifetime of misery and ended with a horrible ending. A horrible, what could be worse than being in a state of wanting to end your own life. And that said, is it because was there a relationship between that and the fact that Michael Jackson died? I don't know. I mean, can you say it seems very weird that this man would choose to kill himself soon after Michael Jackson died? I think it is weird. I don't know. I mean, it's a mystery.
Yeah, because 3 people that know Michael passed away in a tragic death, and then it's like, are they? I mean, they're connected to Michael some way. And
it is weird. Other people have brought this up to me, I have to say. You're not the first one that's brought this up to me. In fact, they wanted me included in the updated version of the book, the Michael Jackson Conspiracy book. And I was going to talk about the various deaths of people in and around Michael since his passing. But really, it's...
I think it's important because there's a clue there. There's something there and that we don't... It's in front of us, but we don't know what it is.
Right. Well, I think there needs to be a little bit more time on the subject, and so what I'm going to do is, if I do write a book on the Conrad Murray issue, or do a TV show on it, which I'm planning to do for my show True Crime, I'll go into it there, because I agree with you. It's a weird coinky-dink.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's very weird, and it has... I'm just thinking about everybody that's involved, and the reason why I brought up these children, because now they are the center of attention.
Yeah.
Yep.
These children, because Catherine and Joe, no offense, are older.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine has a cardiac problem. Joe has health problems, and for some reason, I have a feeling they're going to be moving out of the custody of Catherine. And going to Diana Ross. I have a feeling they're not going to be staying with Catherine for too much longer. I just have that feeling. Something's going to happen and they're going to go.
Well, I don't know. I mean, again, this is complete speculation at this point.
Tony, we
Right.
thank you for your call. I appreciate you calling
Thank
in.
you.
Have a great night. Keep listening.
All right, you too. Bye
All
bye.
right, thank you. Bye-bye.
I have questions like
Tony from
lining up
Tony
here.
from Spain. Go ahead, Bon. What do you got? The chat. I know the chat's going
The
crazy.
chat's going crazy, and I have promised several people that I would ask their questions.
Go ahead.
Now
Let's
I
ask
just
this
have to scroll back because I wasn't able to stay there.
Yeah.
Let's see. It was
Got thousands of people on the chat here, by the way.
Oh, wow.
They all want a piece of you, baby.
They
They're like,
want a piece of Michael.
Yeah.
I know that.
yeah, they do.
It was Miss Kate in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She wanted to know if you had been in touch with the family at all, and if anybody, had anything to say really about the book.
About the book. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, I dealt with Joe Jackson about the book, and he was very happy about the book and wanted to find a way to promote the book and be involved with the book after the fact. And Michael was alive at that time, and the fact that Joe couldn't get his son on the phone, and he told me that, and Michael wouldn't return Joe's phone calls, didn't sit well with me in terms of me wanting to get involved with Joe Jackson.
Right.
I felt like if anybody, in that family, it would be Catherine that I'd want to be involved with,
Right.
because I realized her relationship with Michael is very strong, and whereas Joe and Michael really had a schism. And, I know that Tito has the book. I'm friends with people who are friends with all of them on different levels, or have their own relationships with them, with Randy, with, at the same time, as they have this book, I believe Michael has the book, or had the book as well when it came out. And, it was sent to his nanny, Grace, and at that time also his publicist, Ramon Bain. And, I signed books to him. I sent him 2. I believe he read it because he's an avid reader. But then, you can't ever be sure with Michael, because at the end of the day, this is a chapter he did not want to really revisit.
Right.
So he may have decided, you know what, I don't need to, I don't, even if it is something that's exonerating me, and, I may not want to read it. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, but
So he never really said a thank you or anything for this book.
no, he did not.
Okay, that was a question actually from Hannah Kay. Wanted to know if he ever thanked you. For
He did
it.
not thank me. I didn't expect him to. The thing that I found important, actually, when I first set out on this book, was to make sure that I didn't write it with Michael Jackson's, quote, blessing, or have anything to do with Michael Jackson, because had that been the case, I would have been accused of trying to make money off of his name and distort the truth
Right.
for the sake of Michael Jackson, and that was
Right.
not what I was trying to do here. As an investigative journalist for 30 years, my intent was to set this record straight. And how
be
could you do
impartial.
that? Right. How
Yeah.
could you do that if you're working with or being blessed by
blessing
the
of
person
somebody.
who you're writing about? You can't.
True.
You can't.
Very true.
And I know you. That's not something you would do.
I couldn't. I wouldn't have been able.
Yes.
It wouldn't have been. It would have been always in question, and that's not what
Yeah,
I
no,
wanted.
that's
I'm
not-
not
you
going to write a
wouldn't have done
book to
that.
be in question. So the answer is, I stayed away from. After the fact, I did send books to Michael and the family and his nannies, as I said, his nanny and the publicist and whatnot. And I believe Michael was very well. In fact, I went to the Gates of Neverland with articles about the book when I was in Santa Barbara with Tom Mesereau signing books. So I know he knew about the book, and I know he had copies of it. But beyond that, I guess we'll never know.
Never know. Yeah.
Tiva wants to know if you were a Michael Jackson fan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was a Michael Jackson fan as a
That's
child.
one of my questions. I was going to ask that.
Michael Jackson fan as an adult. I can remember dancing to Michael Jackson's songs when I was living in Paris for a short period of time when I was 20 years old, and I was in my glory, and I thought life was just
Dancing in your apartment or at the clubs?
at the clubs.
I remember trying to learn the Thriller dance.
Yeah. I mean, I just absolutely loved dancing to his music. I mean, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. I felt like I could
I
never
know.
get enough, ever.
Exactly.
And that was even before Thriller, and I mean all of his songs. I mean, I would sit in the car and sing in the radio with
Yeah.
Man in the Mirror, and just on and on and
You
on.
couldn't go into a club or turn on a radio on a Friday or Saturday night where there wasn't a Michael Jackson. want to be starting something, a Beat It or something on the radio.
Absolutely, and those kind of songs, his music, it always turn a room around, and the energy is electric, and then his ballads too. I'll Be
Yeah.
There is probably my
it's
favorite
great.
song. And I love ABC. It's.
But I mean, to
goes
think
on and
about,
on.
I'll Be There. He was 12 years old, and he's
Yeah.
hitting these notes like it's just no big deal at all. There was no auto tune back then.